Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen. And as John Malden of Forbes magazine writes, the pension storm is coming to Europe. It may be the end of Europe as we know it. And a lot of you people will be saying, of course, that sounds incredibly clickbaity, but it's true, and we will go into this because it is incredibly important. And we've mentioned before, John, that if people as young as us think they're going to get a pension, they're laughing.
Well, you should look at our video. We actually did a video on the global economy and how much of a pension shortfall is. This is just an update, basically. But we did a video where we actually went in great detail into all of this, so you can take a look at that one. It's very interesting to see how crazy of like this whole implosion of the retirement market.
It is. It's absolutely insane. But first, watch this video because this is some really big breaking news here. So, as the article goes into, the UK is headed to a retirement implosion. The UK now has a $4 trillion retirement savings shortfall, which is projected to rise 4% a year and reach $33 trillion by 2050. This in a country whose total GDP is $3 trillion. That means the shortfall is already bigger than the entire economy. And even if inflation is modest, the situation is going to get worse. A 2015 OECD study found workers in the developed world could expect governmental programs to replace on average 63% of their working age incomes. Not so bad, but in the UK that figure is only 38%, the lowest in all OECD countries. This means UK workers must either build larger personal savings or severely tighten their belts when they retire. Working past retirement age is another choice, but it could put younger workers out of the job market. So we've gone into a lot about how just the markets are insanely manipulated, and we have this pension system which is basically rigged. The banking system and the government colluding hand in hand, and I mean, we are not going to see a decent pension, if any pension, when we are older. I'm 23, and I know I'm not going to see it in Canada. So what do you think of this, John?
Well, all this is, of course, that you have the pension funds need to make X amount of income a year. Now, when, of course, the yields of what they invest most in, which is bonds, have dropped like through the floor, there's not very much. It's gathering a massive shortfall in what they promised to the economy. To the pensioners when they retire. So what's happening is that they, of course, have given, massive shortfall. Like, look at the shortfall in UK here that they predict, like $33 trillion. That's insane. That's a ridiculous number. That's 2050, of course. But before that, we're not going to see any pension, in any near future, especially for the people that are, 40 years and up. For sure, because it doesn't exist. Why do we have to rely on government, and why does government force us to put money into our retirements? Like, why does the government has to be there and control that? Why can't we be independently responsible for our own money and save and invest it in so much better things than government bonds that are losing its value?
They say, oh, well, we care about you so much, we want you to save up for the future. Yet in public indoctrination camps or schools, whatever you want to call them, when do they teach you about saving, and when do they teach you about putting your money into assets? When do they teach you about any of this? If they truly cared about people saving for the future, they would educate people in order to save for the future, because assets are where the money is, where you don't have to be taxed or extorted to death in most cases, and sound money, all these tangible assets, these are where you should be putting the money, not into some government pension, which you're forced to do, and then you find out later on, oh, well, the banking system didn't take such good care of my money. Who would have thunk? Well, we've been trying to warn you, and we think, and we hope that you think about this too.
Yeah, well, when you go and look at the education that you get, I remember back in school, I'm trying to remember now, I remember we, as I was, getting confirmed at the church that I was in when I was, younger, I remember we had a meeting with a banker that, gave us 50 kroner in account. That's
you grew up in Norway, just
that's the start of it, to push you into getting to know banker. And some places I know they brought in financial advisors that tells you, oh, it's 60-40, you got to invest 60 in stocks, 40 in bonds, or when you get older, it's more in bonds and so on. And that's such a flawed tactic right now, because the governments have been, especially the central banks, have been blowing up the asset prices of bonds. The government has bought so much debt that they can't even pay anymore.
There's derivatives everywhere. Everything's based on debt and rigged to death today.
Oh, it is. Like, debt is just slushing around in the world economy like raw sewage, and it's stinking right now, and it's setting everywhere. In every little creek and crevice around in your house and everywhere. It would be like a massive flood, and then all the sewage comes up and it just stays there. That's what's happening right now. All this monetary sewage that is debt is just around in the world, stinking up the world. We're starting to smell it now. People are really starting to smell it and starting to warn people. Of course, there's been people out there warning for this for 20, 30 years. Some people.
Well, Robert Kiyosaki is a good example, because we interviewed him, I believe, in June. And when we talked with him, he's going like, yeah, I learned in school, invest long-term in the stock market. You'll do great. And he learned for himself, no, that isn't how you do it. And
it's all about the cash flow, right? It's all about being an intelligent investor. And of course, today, that's why he's talking about this. You have to be an investor, because there is inflation that is created by the increasing money supply, and it's destroying you. So what you need to invest that money into something that actually preserves its value, and not are getting blown up with value by fake margin debt in the case of the stock market, or deficit spending in the case of the governments. It's like all this tools that we've been taught has just basically been a setup between the government and the banks to make a whole bunch of money on you investing in RSPs or 401ks if you're in the States, or other funds that are private outside of the government that they promise.
And just building on that, so a lot of people will say, well, can't the government do something about this? Can't they fix this problem? Because, of course, we always have new viewers watching our videos, and we got to explain things. No, the government isn't going to fix the problems of government. Only individuals can fix it for themselves, because in the end, government loves a subservient public. So a populace in debt is a populace in servitude. And when they shove you down that bottomless pit of debt, they force you to ask for a ladder up from the government or the banking system, and that puts you in perfect servitude. And that's exactly where they want you, because imagine how great it is for a government when the populace is on their knees begging them. And this is exactly the situation that they will put you in, and you can't allow it to happen. You can't let them get the best of you. You can get out of this easily. Some people say, gold and silver. Some people invest in, kinds of real estate, etc. Other people put it into cryptocurrency, decentralized cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Dash, stuff like that. And, this is how a lot of people are going to be able to get the upper hand. So when everything comes crashing down, they will have a backup. They will have something to lean on, and they will probably be laughing, because those kinds of assets are going to do really well when everything else comes down, because a fiat system will come down. The centralized, rigged derivatives markets, those will come crashing down. Everything is the bubble is going to burst, and the monetary system is going to crash. The fundamentals are off the table due to the level of manipulation, but we know it's going to happen. We just can't put a date on it. And we are seeing a lot of telltale signs today. And I think it's about time that more people understand how this happens, be educated on this subject in order to take action so that they can protect themselves and their family. And that's what it's all about for us when we try to talk about these subjects, is we want people to be able to save themselves and their families.
Yeah. Well, of course, this is our opinion, but when it comes to financial education, it's so important today. Go out there and you take courses, read Rob Kiyosaki's books. I learned so much from them. He's just making it in very simple language for the everyday person. You go out, like how I, got into that. I learned about gold and silver from Mike Maloney. Then I went on, to higher levels of understanding economics from there. I read, all kinds of different economics books from the textbooks that the PhDs are, getting forced, brainwashed with, to, reading James Rickards' book that are very detailed, and like I read, different formulas that it comes out with, and learn about other theories that, it doesn't even exist in the modern mindset of a PhD, which is, for example, complexity theory. Because, when you think about the whole economy, it's so crazy and complex that you can't just treat it like you can just manipulate it here. You'll, create crazy outcome in the economy when it finally bursts, because you're just pushing up, you know, this bubble forever. And when it goes down, it's going to be very sad to watch, because there's going to be so many people, especially that thought they had their pensions. Like, look at, well, currently with CalPERS and many other, you know, state pension funds in the States, for example, they're really starting to suffer. They're suffering massive shortfalls. You know, some pensions are even have said that, you know, we can't pay you, and they're lost.
Or the Canadian pension plan, or Ponzi. I mean,
pension Ponzi, the Canadian pension Ponzi, as I call it in my book, right? In Canada, the greatest economy in the world. You can get it on Amazon.
Get it on Amazon.
That book, you know, I call it the Canada pension Ponzi, because that's what it is. It's a Ponzi scheme. You know, they keep on, you know, pushing money from everybody else in there to, you know, pay the retirees on the top here. But the problem is they need more and more people in order to, you know, pay out that retirement, and suddenly there's no more people to, you know, pay.
Well, and you mentioned looking at different sides. I mean, when I was 12 years old, I was reading Marx, and I mean, that's where it should belong, childhood, but I'll let that go. It helped me build into all these other things that conflicted with that.
Get an understanding of everything.
Yeah, and people say, well, you must only be looking at one side. No, I've looked at all the sides. Unfortunately, it was a lot of really annoying, long reads, but look,
we just ended up liking, you know, this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we've seen everything.
Over time, you realize that the individual is always right. The individual always knows what's best for themselves. And these Keynesians have failed time and time and time again, hundreds of times. And they continue to fail. And the Keynesians we see on television, the Keynesians we see in the university and college systems, we need to avoid these people and get our own grasp on reality instead of being spoon-fed and indoctrinated this nonsense, which has failed time and time again, with them just saying, well, maybe we need a little bit more manipulation, maybe that'll help. No, the more manipulation, the worse it is, and it just continues this collectivist pyramid where one bit of collectivism, begets more collectivism, and it always grows and grows and grows until it gets so unsustainable. The people holding it up underneath get crushed underneath it, and the people on the top still, they prevail, and mostly because of a massive lack of education.
Yeah, you got to stay outside of the economic bubble and think outside of the economic bubble, the one that you learn in the university.
Absolutely.
You got to think outside of that. There's so many different options out there, so many different systems that could be implemented, run simultaneously, and work together interchangeably in a modern system. Why are we still running this old idea, 1,000-year-old idea of this paper money
1024 AD.
Forced upon you by the government and then devalued because they get into so much debt? It's such a terrible idea. We need to get beyond that and see into the future, which if we get the future that we want to see individual responsibility in that future, and we want to see every individual working together, creating a better future without any dependency on any government.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will continue to go into this as we have before. We've got tons of videos on this subject and more, from government to the banking system to pensions to everything that you could imagine, because we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos. So you can check those out if you haven't already. But until next time, thanks for going into this with us, John. And this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth.
Be the change.
Now to sound like an auctioneer. Thanks for watching, everyone. Check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube as they bring in the Anti-Defamation League to flag all of our content as hate speech. Also check our Bitcoin address in the description in the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And don't forget to check me out at Josh Sigurdson at Steemit.com. That's Steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid via cryptocurrency, Steem that is, by the upvote and demand of your post. It's bound to take out the dinosaur social media, so I hope to see you there. But until next time, check out this word from our sponsor.
Are you looking to exchange a large amount of US dollars? Don't overpay with the bank on currency exchange. Think outside the bank. Banks charge unnecessary fees of up to 3%. Truth be told, currency exchange with the bank will cost you hundreds to thousands of dollars. Start saving now. Step 1. Register online. Visit our website and click Get Started. Step 2. Book a transaction. Phone us for a quote and to complete the transaction. We'll need to know which currencies you are converting and how much. Step 3. Transfer of funds. Once you confirm the transaction, we initiate an electronic funds transfer from the account that you choose. Your purchased funds are then transferred back to you in the account that you choose within 1 business day. It's that easy. Start saving hundreds of dollars on currency exchange with CBCE. Sign up online or give us a call today.